Greetings, everyone. My name is Lady Lovelace, and welcome to the arcane ramblings of the Vampyre Witch. The other day, I asked people on my Facebook page what I should cover on this YouTube channel because I have a mental block on what to record all the time. And one of the most common topics that was brought up was telling people more about myself or explaining why I call myself the Vampyre Witch. So we're going to dive into that in this video, so stick around and find out. Feel free to tell me in the comments how much that intro sucked. I worked on that for like 5 minutes yesterday and I needed an intro and that's what I landed on. And I can't wait to look back on this in like a year and be like, I did that. So anyway, moving on. Also, before we get into this, don't forget to like and subscribe. In order to fully understand why I call myself the Vampyre Witch, you first kind of got to understand what a vampire is in the real world and what a witch is. Most people kind of have an idea of what a witch is, what a witch does, to a certain degree, but it's the vampire thing that really seems to trip people up. So let's get into that, shall we? So there is a worldwide subculture of individuals that identify as real vampires. This subculture is often referred to as the vampire community, although that's kind of a misnomer because it's really a bunch of communities that all create this subculture, but it's a thing. The history of the modern vampire community starts all the way back in the 60s. There was once upon a time a group called the Count Dracula Fan Club that was founded in 1965. And the fan club would get letters all the time from people who identified themselves as real living vampires. So in the late 60s, early 70s, the Count Dracula Fan Club expanded its scope of duties to include the research of the real vampire phenomenon. In 1972, Stephen Kaplan, who was a highly acclaimed vampirologist and parapsychologist, founded the Vampire Research Center in New York City. Stephen Kaplan managed a vampire hotline through that organization that would get calls and all sorts of just correspondence from people who identified as real vampires. Stephen Kaplan did a ton of research into the phenomenon, had a census for real vampires throughout the world for the better part of 20 years, and did a lot of just scientific research on the phenomenon. So in 1984, the first real vampire organization opened up called the Order of the Vampire. And the Order of the Vampire was an order that founded through the Temple of Set. And if you don't know who the Temple of Set is, they are a group that broke off from the Church of Satan. The founder of the Church of Set, Michael Aquino, had some beef or just didn't like what was going on with Anton LaVey and his Church of Satan, so he branched off, created the Temple of Set, and then Michael Aquino's wife, Lilith Aquino, founded the Order of the Vampire. In 1989, the Temple of the Vampire, which is a different organization, got its tax-exempt status as a religious organization in 1989. They also released the Vampire Bible in 1989. And then from there, the 90s had a huge vampire boom in both media and real vampire community. They kind of feed off each other throughout the years. Like I said, the first organization was a Count Dracula fan club. So it's, they kind of run in tandem and go hand in hand. But even beyond the modern community, the vampire current is a current of energy that has existed since basically the dawn of time. Mythologically speaking, there has been deities and spirits and beings of all types that kind of have these vampiric tropes. They feed off of blood or energy to empower themselves in one way or another. So why am I even telling you all this? The moral of the story is that the idea of real vampires, it's not new. I didn't make this shit up. So, With that said, I haven't actually answered what a vampire is. So, real vampires of the vampire community, the vampire subculture, are individuals that embody the vampiric archetype on like a deep soul level. They harness universal vampiric energy through connection to the vampire current that has existed through the millennia. Connection to the vampire current brings about within somebody a path of research that connects you to existing vampiric characteristics and forces. This path introduces recognizing and testing these characteristics and traits through a series of ongoing physical, spiritual, and parapsychological experiments. Vampires utilize things like glamour to manipulate and influence outcomes to lean in their favor, through the use of gaze to distract, influence, or control the situation. A vampire's glamour can become a force of influence that most people don't realize they're even being exposed to. Vampires also practice energetic invisibility, where they can retract their energy so that they're not seen in a crowded room. It's not literal invisibility, you're not just going to disappear. But basically, vampires just have this innate and intrinsic ability to manipulate energy, to manipulate their surroundings or the people around them. At its core, vampires are individuals who have awakened to a lifetime of study with subtle energies. One who awakens as a vampire, they awaken within them a hunger or thirst for pranic energy or life force energy. The vampire's path is a constant pursuit of raising your life force energy levels. Some vampires think that they need to raise their energy levels because they have a deficiency caused by a defect or injury in their chakra systems, or some other energetic part of you has a defect, and therefore they don't create enough pranic or life force energy, or it leaks or something. They feel like they need to feed on pranic energy to be able to maintain their energetic health. Other vampires think that they have a constant higher turnover of pranic energy because they are constantly working energy work of some sort throughout their lives. They have a baseline level of constant magical or spiritual or energy work that they are doing, and therefore they burn off their pranic energy quicker than the average human being, and therefore they need to charge themselves with a third-party source of pranic or life force energy. There's, a myriad of reasons and origin stories about why this occurs, and there's also a spectrum of heightened sensibilities, spiritual abilities, and inherent disadvantages that one may find when they awaken as a vampire. However, once they have done the necessary shadow work to integrate the negative parts of being a vampire, you can live with a sense of personal freedom, and it encourages you to enrich your life, and you can garner the social position and wealth you seek in life. So, every vampire has a moment in their lives where they become aware of this nature about them. It's a pivotal moment and a catalyst for change and power that you unlock within you. I had mine pretty young. Around 12 years old, I both had my vampiric awakening and began practicing witchcraft. And because I unlocked both sides of myself so young, my path as a vampire and path as a witch became so entangled that it became indistinguishable. So, 20 years of practice later, I've loudly adopted this moniker and became someone who just wanted to insert a new voice into the vampire subculture and community. Vampire magic is often based around ceremonial magic, left-hand path, satanic work sort of framework, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just don't always vibe with that. And from so many years in the general community, I've realized that I'm not alone in that feeling. So at this point, I'm still very much on my personal path of study and practice and experimentation and evaluation and sometimes having epiphanies. I'm still working to evolve myself and trying to articulate my own path and practice out loud so other people can have someone to talk to about it, basically. I'm no expert, but, 20 years of practice has gained me a lot of wisdom, so I'm thankful for that at this point. And I'm happy to share my journey with you, and I hope it helps somebody feel a little less weird about things they experience, I guess. And anyways, I am getting off track. So I think I've pretty well covered why I call myself the Vampyre Witch. I think maybe next time I will cover more of the vampire community itself, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should I do about my next video? But if anybody has any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them. Put them down in the comment section. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel so you can see what other videos I put out. So, thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next time.